welcome back to the Starfighter podcast with Dom. And we may or may not have a co host today, but no worries, the show goes on. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, whether it's live right now or on the podcast feed. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and on the podcast feed, you can leave us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe even leave us a nice review if you feel up to it. We appreciate it. But yeah, a couple quick things before we get our show started. Um, as you may have noticed, it's been a little bit. It's been, I think, 2 weeks or so. Um, but yeah, was on a trip, got to visit some family and friends. That was awesome. Shout out to all my friends I got to see and my family. Um, that was a blast. And then I got sick, so hence the lack of shows. Um, and so like this past week, you may have noticed I've just been live streaming some games and not really chatting much, but appreciate you guys. A few of you tuned in for some of those, and you can expect more games here on the channel soon. Um, for those of you who don't know, I got a PS5 recently, and I've been streaming Fallen Order, and I finished that game actually just recently, which it's an incredible game, and it actually ties into the Obi-Wan show. Believe it or not, there's some stuff that ties in, and we might touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, most of the gameplay, most of the story and stuff is up on the channel. If you want to take a look at that, maybe even just take a look at some of the cutscenes from that, from the story for Fallen Order. It's really great, and especially the last video I did is like 30 minutes, um, a 30-minute live stream playing through the final episode and or the final mission, I should say. And yeah, it was a blast. Such an incredible game. So that was a lot of fun. And then Jake and I just started playing. I guess it's the remastered Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game that just dropped recently, and that's a lot of fun too. But yeah, you can expect more games. I'll probably be streaming some Spider-Man here soon on the channel. But anyways, enough about that. We're here to get caught up on our Obi-Wan Kenobi reviews. So tonight we're going to be talking about both episodes 4 and 5 for the Obi-Wan series. And again, whether it's in the live chat or on the replay, drop in the comment section and let us know here how you've been enjoying the series, um, as a whole, and what your favorite episodes have been. Also, we really want to know any of your theories. The finale is next week, and so I might have to do something special for that here on the channel. Really looking forward to that as well. But yeah, we got behind, and now you guys know why we got behind. Took a trip, then got sick, so now we're here playing catch up, and so we will jump into episode 4. I feel like we're mostly going to be talking about episode 5 tonight, for a couple reasons. One, a lot of people I've heard didn't care as much for episode 4, um, but episode 5 was pretty well received, I think, by the fans. And yeah, we're going to talk about both. We might be talking about episode 5 just a little bit more. And I don't know how long we'll be going tonight for our show. Probably shooting for about 45 minutes to an hour, but we'll see how things go. And if you guys want to chime in the live chat, I will put up your messages, answer any questions, or share any of your theories or comments. All right, let's get into it. Episode 4, we get to see the Fortress Inquisitorius. How's that for a name? That is the canon name for this hideout, the base for the Inquisitors. And this is part of how it ties into the Fallen Order video game. Actually, is the final level, spoiler, in that game takes place at this fortress, and people have been talking about this a little bit online too. But essentially, the way that you get inside the game, you infiltrate the base in the game is the same way Obi-Wan does in the show. He goes underwater, um, and enters, um, from the water into the base, and so that was kind of cool, kind of a neat little Easter egg and call back to the game. But anyways, like I mentioned, I just heard a lot of backlash for this episode in particular, but personally, I thought it was pretty good, and I enjoyed it for the most part. Um, it's not without its faults. It's kind of, we are seeing kind of this pattern about, Leia gets lost, Leia gets found, Leia gets lost, Leia gets found again. Um, so yeah, I kind of understand that a little bit. The show isn't without its problems, but and I might be just slightly biased every once in a while because Obi-Wan is my favorite character, but I'm gonna be honest, about my feelings and everything because he is my favorite character, and I think we need to do him justice, and we need to do Star Wars justice in general. So, anyways, Obi-Wan's he's there to, of course, find Leia, and he's on the base with Tala. I'm really enjoying her character, um, or I did. We'll talk about that more when we go over episode 5. But yeah, I like the character of Tala, and I like how her and Obi-Wan work together, and we see that she's already building this relationship with both Obi-Wan and Leia, and that they all kind of care for each other, and even in this short time, they're all working together, towards this one particular cause to, essentially get Leia back, but they also are looking at the bigger picture too, and at bringing down the Empire, um, long term. So, anyways, they infiltrate the base, and Obi-Wan is searching for Leia. Leia is being interrogated um, by Riva, and this, in particular, got a lot of backlash. And this is something that I definitely understood. The conversations between Leia and Riva, um, they weren't working for me as much either. Um, I felt kind of like the actress was kind of trying to sell it a little bit too hard. Um, and it was kind of just this back and forth, and it was the whole argument, was just going in a circle, and it was kind of lingering a little too long. I think it was dragging on a little bit, and it just got redundant and kind of old. Um, so that was kind of a bummer, but you know, anyways, um, the really interesting thing about this episode, I think, is that as Obi-Wan is searching for Leia, he comes across these tombs, um, inside this base, and it's tombs of old Jedi Knights, and even there was one youngling. And I haven't dug deeper into this just yet. I'll have to do a little bit more exploring, but I know online some people already know the names of some of these characters um, that were in these tombs, and these bodies. But it was really interesting. It reminded me of the episode of Mandalorian, where where they discover, kind of like that the Empire is cloning again. Essentially, I think it boiled down to the Snoke clones that we see in Episode 9. But it kind of reminded me a little bit of that, just discovering more of these secrets that the Empire is kind of hiding. Um, that the Empire's hiding was really interesting. So yeah, that was definitely a pretty cool part. Um, and the troopers come after Obi-Wan eventually, and this also got a little bit of a pushback too. And again, tying back into Fallen Order, it's just kind of an Easter egg, and a nod to the game. That window is cracking, with the water. Actually, I think that might have been after Obi-Wan eventually strikes down these troopers and saves Leia. Yeah, so this window's cracking and the water's starting to pour out, and Obi-Wan is like, he's got his hand out and he's holding the the glass together, and it's kind of interesting, kind of funny, but in the game, and again, I did a stream on this final level that you can check out if you wanted to. Um, but Cal Kestis, your character that you play in Fallen Order, kind of does the same thing, uh, but a little bit different. He actually breaks the glass to let the water in, but Obi-Wan is holding that glass so that the water doesn't come inside come inside. But eventually he lets go, and he makes a run for it, and they escape. And this episode is really kind of cut and dry. And like I said, I think we're going to spend more time talking about episode 5. So we'll kind of start to wrap things up here. And if there's any comments on this episode, I'll definitely throw those up. But, there's not a whole lot to this episode. These are kind of the key points, the key moments. So, yeah, they get Leia back, and Tala, Leia, and Obi-Wan, they're making a run for it. It was kind of lame, um, a little bit how Leia's just like in Obi-Wan's jacket, and they're just kind of like walking out to like board one of the ships, and she's just in his coat jacket and like his trench coat. Apparently, no one's gonna notice, but um, eventually, Riva does catch up to them and stops them, or she's about to, and just in time, some of their other rebel friends swoop into the base and fire at the troopers and at Riva, so that and they were, I guess, not snow speeders, but we knew them as snow speeders, but I guess they're land speeders. um and I can't remember the model number, but anyways, uh from Empire Strikes Back. So Obi-Wan, Riva, Leia jump into the speeder and they head out. And then we get the scene. Oh, right before that, that guy Wade, he's one of the other pilots. Riva ends up taking down his ship, um, and takes out that guy. But after this, Riva gets confronted by Vader, and this was a really great scene too. You gotta bear with me; throat's a little dry. Um, yeah, so Vader confronts Riva and just starts, he barges in, he just starts choking her out with the Force, right? And he finally lets her speak, um, and apparently she let them go on purpose. Is kind of what you get from it. But she said that she put a tracker on them, and Vader says, maybe I underestimated you. You know, hats off to you for doing that. We cut back over to Obi-Wan and Leia. They're on the ship. Kind of have this nice moment, um, where Leia grabs Obi-Wan's hand, and they hold hands, and it's kind of this nice uncle, kind of like an uncle niece type of moment. That was nice, and just kind of cool, like, to see these dynamics, because you always kind of wondered what the relationships could be with Obi-Wan and Luke and Leia when they're younger. I mean, before this, we didn't think that. We assumed that he didn't really have much of a relationship with Leia before, but now we see that he does. And so it's kind of nice, and during the scene, you end up seeing Lola, Leia's droid, and this is how the episode closes out. But Lola lights up, her lights turn red, and that's basically telling us that the tracker is inside Lola, the droid. So that's how episode 4 of Kenobi closes. And yeah, I know that again, this episode not without its flaws, just like the show, this whole series, you know, has some iffy moments here and there, some not so great moments, but you know, as a whole, I still enjoyed this episode. I think there were some great scenes and great visuals. Um, I like the whole thing where he's trying to stop the water from coming through. Um, I think the coolest shot, or one of the coolest shots at least, was when Obi-Wan goes to save Leia, and um, the lights turn off in the room, the interrogation room, or it's uh, the torture chamber. You know, Leia's about to get tortured, um, and the lights turn off, and then we just, we have this pause, and we see Obi-Wan's lightsaber turn on, and he strikes down the stormtroopers and saves Leia. It was a cool moment. It was a cool scene visually as well. Um, and yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Not the best, but still pretty good. But yeah, again, like I said, it's pretty cut and dry, to the point. A little rescue mission, and now we're going to be moving on and talking about episode 5. We can go on and talk about episode 5. And yeah, there's quite a bit to dive in here for episode 5. I think this is the episode that everyone's been talking about. It's the penultimate episode to this series, and I think it's setting up a lot. We get a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. Definitely, hands down, I think is my. I know it's my favorite, and I also think it's the best episode of this series so far. I'm hoping that next week will top this and be the very best. But yeah, episode 5. Let's talk about it. Episode 5 opens up with a flashback, and we've been waiting to see these flashback scenes, haven't we? Um, yeah, so get to see this training scene, this training sequence between younger Obi-Wan and Anakin, and this is pre Attack of the Clones, because Anakin has both of his hands here. He doesn't have um, his robot or his droid hand just yet. So this is pre Attack of the Clones, and this sequence, it plays through the entire episode, and like I mentioned, it's foreshadowing kind of what eventually happens towards the end of this episode. But I also believe that this is foreshadowing the uh, turn of events and how things will play out um, in our finale next week. So we've got this duel sequence, this flashback, and we see Obi-Wan and Anakin training, and they start to duel, and we just get a small glimpse at first, and then we cut to Vader on the Star Destroyer, and we just get this really cool shot of Vader, and um, kind of telling us that he's kind of reliving this in his mind, or it's playing out in the back of his head too. It, throughout the episode, I really like how they did it. It feels like both Vader and Obi-Wan um, kind of have this same memory playing out in the back of their minds. Don't necessarily know that that's the case, but that's kind of how it comes across a little bit in the episode, and I thought that was done really nicely. So, Vader, we get this shot of Vader, and then Reva comes on board, and you know they talk, and basically Vader says, send the squad down below. They found the rebels, and you know they're ready to go and capture Obi-Wan. So that's what they do, and they start sending their team down. um we uh we get to see again. I keep referring to them as rebels, and uh, at this point they're not like this. They're not like the original rebels exactly, but they're essentially, freedom fighters against the Empire. And so we get to see them back at the base, and they're trying to figure out how to, because they know that the Empire is coming, and so they're trying to gather things together and figure out a plan how to escape the Empire. And so it's yeah, I just really like this. I just really like this episode. Um, Again, kind of like a simple concept, but just the way everything plays out is really nice. Um, so yeah, they're all trying to come up with this plan here, and they realize that something's wrong with um, like their exit, like the opening, um, kind of like what is it? Kind of like on the landing pad, or like the doors, the overhead doors. They need to open that up, and so Leia has to go up into like the vents, um, and and help fix something because she's the only one that can get up there. That was kind of like, I don't know. We didn't get to see much from Leia in this episode, which is kind of fine. Um, it was kind of just like a whatever type of thing for this story. So she's trying to fix that. Also, Lola is kind of like working against her at this point too. Um, and ultimately, again, as we saw in the last episode, is the reason that they're being discovered, like their location once again, because Lola has the tracker. So, anyways, the Empire lands, and they only have like 1 hour. Obi-Wan says, and so they're all trying to figure things out. But they're kind of trying to stall a little bit as well. And so the whole crew, they're trying to figure things out and trying to get their stuff together and come up with this plan how they're going to escape, try to make good use of their time. And Obi-Wan is going to kind of stall, but also he's going to confront Riva, and so he goes up to the door, um, kind of like their barrier that's like holding them inside, and Riva goes up to the door, and so they're both on opposite sides, and they end up having this conversation, and it's a really good moment. I think it's a really important one too, and I have to say, shout out to Jake Hedge. He was supposed to be on our episode today, but wasn't able to make it. Um, so shout out to him. But both of us, we've been doing our reviews together, and we talked about kind of this moment in some of our other episodes. We essentially, like, our theories kind of came true, and maybe for some of you, the audience, other viewers, and fans, you kind of like were on the same wavelength as well. But Obi-Wan tries to figure out how Riva knew that it was Anakin, that Darth Vader was Anakin, especially with the timeline and everything. And he puts two and two together, and he's like, you were a youngling on Coruscant during Order 66. And we all kind of suspected that too from episode 1 in the intro. We kind of put that together too, that was probably Riva at the beginning. And so she confirmed that was her. But the other thing, you know which I had mentioned in our last episode, um, I called it, which again, maybe we were all on the same wavelength here, but um, my thoughts before were, where is like all this bitterness kind of coming from? And my thoughts were, maybe she has some resentment towards Obi-Wan. I had told Jake previously, maybe Riva knew Obi-Wan before, or she at least knew of him, right? And was kind of like, where was he? Why wasn't he there to save her and the other younglings? And not just Obi-Wan, but the other Jedi Masters. You know, um, where were they they needed when she needed them most, basically? And she says that too. She asks Obi-Wan, he was your apprentice. Why weren't you there to stop him? Where were you? And so I really liked that. I liked how that all played out. Um, there's been a lot of talks online about the character of Riva, and is she a good character? Is she not such a great character? And again, I think like other things in the show, she kind of has her moments, her ups and downs. But I thought some of these things, especially in this episode, were good choices for her character and for the development of her character. And this is one of those things because it makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that we're able to revisit some of the stuff with Order 66. They've been doing this a lot more lately, and we're gonna get even more going forward because Bad Batch season 2 is confirmed, and that's gonna come out later this year, which I'm excited for. We'll definitely be doing reviews for that, but yeah, we get to see some more contacts with Order 66, some more callbacks. And in this episode, we got a couple more flashbacks. Not just that main sequence with Anakin and Obi-Wan, but we also get to see some flashbacks here um, of Order 66 when Anakin comes through the doors um, with his clone battalion, and he goes after the Jedi and the younglings, and it doesn't show too much, but it shows him ignite the blade and start going after them. And the way that it all plays out definitely adds a lot to, again, the character of Riva and her development, which I'm really liking in this episode. So, curious to know again how you guys are enjoying the show and what your thoughts are on her character in particular. Let us know in the comment section, and we'll either put those up or we will definitely respond in the chat later on. Um, but yeah, so going forward, Obi-Wan kind of realizes, he's like, you know, you're not trying to work for Anakin. Um, he's like, you're hunting him. He's kind of sees through her now, and that she has all this built up anger and rage and resentment um, for the Jedi, but mainly for Anakin, and he sees that basically her future, that she's going to um, try to kill him. And so he says, you know what, like, let's do this together. Let's try and stop Anakin. Let's try and stop Vader together. And her whole thing, of course, is I don't need you. I'm better on my own. And and even then, um, why would you even want to kill Anakin? She doesn't believe that he does, and that was a valid point too, because we know that he doesn't actually want to kill him. But at the same time, I think that he's kind of come to terms with understanding that, for the most part, we know that it's not completely true, of course, but it would appear that he's long gone, and um, it's they're in too deep to turn back now. Like, he's more machine than man at this point, and there's kind of no going back, is what it seems like. Of course, later on, episode 6, we know it's not the case, but at this point, it looks to be that way. So I feel like Obi-Wan's kind of like coming to terms with that a little bit, which was, we'll pause just for a second, and I'll just say that I think that's kind of interesting too, how this is all playing out for this show, because my original thoughts for this show, it went in a different direction than I thought, and curious to hear from you guys as well. But originally I thought that things were going to be different. I didn't think that we were going to get like this, quest to um, save Leia, which I don't really mind. But you know, my original thoughts were we were going to have dialogue with Qui-Gon, which I really hope that in the last episode we do at the very least, because we really need to see him again. But I thought the story was going to start out with him communicating with Qui-Gon, and I thought that we were going to see him, Obi-Wan, that is, have more of a desire to save Anakin, and then towards the end of the series realize, no, he's too far gone. Um, I do need to. Yoda was right. I do need to destroy him. Um, but that's not really how things are playing out right now. It kind of seems that Obi-Wan is just coming to terms that he's too far gone at this point in time. So, kind of an interesting choice. Curious if you guys like that choice or not. I still think I would have preferred for him to be a little bit torn and conflicted again, and like when he realized that Anakin was still alive, I would have liked to have seen the story play out to where he still has that desire to, or a new desire, I might say, you might say, to save Anakin, because I've talked about it before. But in episode 3, people always, they forget this. They think that Obi-Wan went on that mission. Some people, not everyone, but they think that he went on that mission to save Anakin, and that wasn't his mission. His mission was to go to Mustafar and to kill him. No questions asked. That was his assignment. Um, Yoda said, "It has to be done. Your apprentice. He's no longer alive. He's been consumed by Vader, and Anakin is long gone now. You go there to destroy the Sith. That's it. That's the mission." And so it was we never really saw that. And why is this noteworthy? Um, I'm bringing this up because in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is talking to Vader and confronts him and thinks that there's still good in him and is trying to turn him to the light side initially, Vader says, Obi-Wan once thought as you did. Well, when was that? Because he didn't try to turn him to the light side in episode 3. He went there knowing that he was going to fight him and that he was going to try to kill him. And so I guess a little bit of a missed opportunity, I think, for this series. I think that we should have seen kind of that conflict, and I think we should have seen Obi-Wan have these feelings. And I think it would have played out really nicely again if we started in this series talking with Qui-Gon, him kind of explaining to Obi-Wan that there's still good in him, re-emphasizing that from Padme, and re-emphasizing the fact that Anakin is still the chosen one. You need to try one more time, or you need to try actually for the first time to go and to turn him back from the dark side to the light side. And it would have been nice for this series for it to kind of start that way, and for Obi-Wan to make that attempt and then that go terribly wrong, and then towards the end of the series him realize, okay, he's too far gone. It's time to try and take him out again. That's how I would have done this. But what do I know? I'm just a huge Star Wars fan. But that's what I thought was gonna happen with this series, and that's what I would have liked to have seen. I think I would have enjoyed that a little bit more. But yeah, things are playing out differently here, so that's fine. And I'm still anxious to see how things go. But anyways, getting back to our little breakdown here. Reva wants nothing to do with Obi-Wan, so it seems, at least. And I think that next episode, our finale, she might team up with Obi-Wan. But for this episode, she's like, no, I don't need you, and we're not going to work together. And I don't even think that you want to kill Anakin. you don't want to do that. So she stabs her saber into the wall and is trying to, get. She ends up getting through the little blockade right there, their barrier, and the doors open, and Obi-Wan force pushes her away. Um, and all the troopers are right there, and they start firing, and we get this, pretty awesome scene. I really like how this all played out. Again, a lot of these things in these last two episodes, kind of just like simple ideas. We're not really jumping around a whole lot, but as far as like from area or planet to planet, um, but the pacing was, kind of really nice, and it was just like it was very confined to this one small place. Um, their small base, their post where they're trying to, you know, get their ship out and trying to escape. It was really, confined here. Most of our episode was, but I really like the pacing, and I like this, little battle sequence. They're not trying to fight them to win. They're just trying to hold them off, as Obi-Wan explains to the crew. And so, yeah, he's trying to block all these blasters, and I think that we're starting to see him again get back into his element a little bit here with his saber skills and his force skills, which is really nice. And um, the crew is trying to fire at all the troopers as well and hold them off, and slowly but surely they're backing into, their quarters, and um, back at the landing pad, for their ships, and they're making their way back again, just trying to hold them off as much as they can, but they are outnumbered. And we get this awesome scene, uh, definitely heartwarming scene between, well, it, essentially it's with Tala, and it's also with, um, that droid as well, the loader droid. But um, Tala's kind of at the forefront in this hallway, and the troopers are starting to break through. But the loading droid, he's really cool and really strong too, actually. He's trying to fight off these troopers for her, and it's kind of like her partner, which is cool. Definitely um, gave me some Rogue One vibes with Cassian and K2SO. Definitely reminded me of that. Um, but yeah, the loading droid, he's trying to, take all these hits and hold them off, and they end up, shooting him, destroying him, and he's starting to shut down, but he's like holding like his body in front of Tala to kind of like give her cover from the troopers, and then Tala gets shot as well, and she knows that there's no making it out, and Obi-Wan's just a little bit behind her, um, again trying to block more blaster bolts and protect the rest of the people. But um, she ends up, looking back at Obi-Wan, and she shoots the door so that it closes, and Obi-Wan sees that she has a thermal detonator in her hand, and she says, "May the force be with you," and she lights it up, and she takes one for the team. She takes one for the team and takes out a bunch of troopers, and uh, nearly takes out Riva too, but Riva saw it in time, so she was able to get away from the blast. And so, definitely impactful, and a strong scene for sure. So now the people there, Leia hasn't figured out, how to fix the door just yet. She's still working on it. And Obi-Wan's got to figure out a plan here too. He's starting to feel like he's going to give up. Also, we didn't mention too that he got this message from Bail. Um, a little bit before this, he got this message from Bail saying that, I know we weren't supposed to communicate, but I haven't heard from you. I'm getting really worried about you and Leia. If I don't hear from you soon, I'm going to go to Tatooine and help Owen, try and protect Luke. He's going to need to be safe because, he suspects the Empire is going to find Luke as well. And I like that scene quite a bit. Like I mentioned before, I'm not really mad at this whole, quest to free Leia, and in some ways, I do really enjoy it. I think the story as a whole could have benefited from doing something different, like I mentioned. But this message and that scene where Obi-Wan gets that message from Bail on his communicator, I think adds more and helps out because we have to get on board with where the story's going, and we have to get on board with the plot. And so that I felt like it added more weight, and it just added much more to the plot and of this mission to save Leia and protect her. And looking at the bigger picture, it's about Leia and it's about Luke. It's about both of them, and they're both of them are the main priorities. They are, the galaxy's last hope. The ones that could essentially be the next chosen one to bring balance to the Force because they're Anakin's offspring. So that I felt like that added more weight to the plot, and the overall mission that Obi-Wan is on right now and our story. So I really did like that. But anyways, getting back to it, Obi-Wan is he's feeling like he's giving up, and then that one guy, can't remember his name, but kind of like he's essentially kind of like the leader for this rebel group, and he's like you can't give up. He's like that would be such a waste, and she would have, he was saying that if he did that, Tala would have given her life for nothing. And so Obi-Wan's like, all right, I have to go, and he's gonna kind of like turn himself in essentially, to Riva and the Empire. And it was cool. And again, it's playing back with that flashback sequence that we see, and it played out really well. That flashback sequence between Obi-Wan and Anakin and their duel, because it's not just the physical fight, but it's the mental game. I've mentioned that before. Why Obi-Wan is, he can be underrated, but why he's so good, why he's such a great Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, is because not only is he proficient with the physical lightsaber fighting, but he understands the mental game. That's something that Anakin doesn't quite get yet. But Obi-Wan is like, one or two steps ahead of him. And so, yeah, he understands like, kind of losing your footing, losing your step, kind of getting caught up in the short term, and not like trying to win the end game, looking at the bigger picture, the bigger goal in this battle, and basically telling Anakin that you're too focused on gaining the victory, and you want it right now. Like that's always been a struggle with Anakin, like his patience and like his eagerness to gain the victory right away, and his overconfidence too. And so again, we're kind of going back and forth between what's happening in the present and that flashback scene with them in this duel. And in that scene, Anakin is trying to like pin him in the corner basically, and he thinks that he's got him, and of course, Obi-Wan's able to kind of escape that bad position, and then we'll kind of finish out this sequence too. But then again, Anakin thinks he gets the best of him again when he is able to knock his lightsaber out, and he kind of runs after him, and he wants him to kind of like admit defeat, and Obi-Wan's like, no, he's like, you're being too careless, too overconfident, and he's able to get behind him. um he's able to like cross him up behind the back, and then steal Anakin's lightsaber, and he's like, it's game over. He's like, you know you have a lot more things to work out, and until you understand like these lessons, you're always going to be the Padawan. You're not going to be able to reach that next level of Jedi Knight or Jedi Master. And we see that play out in real time now, in present time, because Obi-Wan is going to turn himself into Reva, um, but in actuality, it's not giving himself into Vader, it's drawing Vader in, because he understands, again, the bigger picture. He understands everything that's playing out here with Reva, and how she's kind of basically gonna um, come between them in a sense, and 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 is really the key to helping them escape. But yeah, so Obi-Wan tells her, like, you're not bringing Vader um, to me. I'm bringing Vader to you, and he knows that it's time for her to confront him, and that's what she really wants. He understands this, and so that's how things play out. Vader comes. Oh, also, Obi-Wan's able to kind of escape again, and so Vader, he's going through the halls, and he's mad for sure, and he gets to the landing pad, and what a great scene. But he sees the transport taking off, and he grabs it with the force, and he's pulling it down, and he's able to knock it down, and now he's just like breaking it apart with the force. And incredible scene. We've always wanted to see more of this. um, uh, I think this is what the fans really want. They want to see more of Vader just like unleash his ultimate power, and we got to see more of that here with the scene where he's just totally wrecking this transport. Um, but again, Obi-Wan he's one or two steps ahead, and it was a decoy transport. The real one, just takes off. Um, like as soon as they see him start destroying, like ripping into the decoy, the real one behind it just flies out of the hangar, takes off, and I thought it was great. I thought it was a great scene, and I mean, of course, Vader is even more upset, and we'll start to kind of wrap things up here with our review here pretty soon. We're getting close to the end. Um, but yeah, it was a great scene, and then I mean, things just got better and better with the end of this episode. Reva comes behind him, and she goes to stab him with her lightsaber, and he stops it. Vader stops it with his force powers, and she keeps trying to attack him, and he's just pushing her back and forth. Um, it was so clear in this episode, um, and in these scenes, that Reva she doesn't hold a candle to this match. Like, she is nowhere near the same level as Vader. This is nothing. Um, it's literally no trouble for him at all. He's just toying with her. He doesn't even bother to take out his own lightsaber. He doesn't need it. Um, she's nothing compared to him. And um, ultimately, he gets a hold of her saber, and he, you know, pulls it apart into two blades. And I think some of us were kind of wondering if he was gonna, um, take her head off like he did with Dooku in Episode 3. Um, but no, things played out differently, a little differently. It goes back to that flashback sequence, and maybe you guys can comment and kind of tell me your thoughts about this. Um, but it goes back to that flashback of her as a youngling, and in that flashback, it looks like Anakin stabs her. So I guess we're kind of understanding or assuming that he did stab her when she was younger. Um, or I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on that. Like maybe that was just kind of like more of like her fear, but but I think it's pretty safe to say that he did stab her before as well. That's kind of what I think what the overall consensus is on other reviews that I've seen as well. That she was able to survive that because she did play dead, so she must have gotten slashed. But in any case, in the flashback scene, he stabs her. And then we see present time, right here in the hangar. He stabs her again, and she falls to the ground. And and then to top it all off, I kind of knew, I kind of knew um, that this was going to happen. I think a lot of us have guessed it, especially if, again, guys, you got to watch the Clone Wars. You have to watch the Rebels. You got to stay, up to date with these animated series. Um, we knew that the old Grand Inquisitor, he wasn't dead because he's very much alive through a lot of Rebels, the Rebels show. And this is, the perfect time for him to make his entrance and to kind of gloat and, you know, just make this appearance and kind of hold it over her that, he won essentially. And, Vader was, he said something to the effect of, did you really think that, I didn't know it was you this entire time? He called her youngling, so he knew this entire time. Vader was 2 steps ahead of her. But he did say that Obi-Wan was kind of smart to use her against him. Um, and yeah, it was a great scene. Um, it was a great scene. The backlash that we are getting with this episode online from other fans I've seen, um, and then even myself a little bit is, you know, Vader and the Grand Inquisitor, they walk off. Oh, also the Grand Inquisitor grabs her badge. Because at the beginning, we forgot to mention this, but Vader did make her Grand Inquisitor at the beginning of this episode. But very short lived, and we knew it was all part of the plan after seeing the end of this episode. But yeah, so he grabs his badge and they both walk off. The thing about it is she lives again. And so we're kind of seeing her live through um like two attempts to kill her. At the same time, I think just like a lot of us are kind of wondering um why she's surviving, um both her being killed or you know being stabbed when she was a youngling, and being stabbed now. um but I mean, the real answer is that Disney probably wants to use her character more going forward, or at least for her to have this big um, character arc and have things kind of come full circle for her at the very end in the finale. That's that's the real reason. But as far as the story goes, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's a little bit weak because she probably should have died. Um, I mean, I can't imagine how she got stabbed as youngling and survived, and now she gets stabbed again in the abdomen and lives again. So, you know, kind of interesting. Um, that part doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I totally understand why people, um, are a little bit iffy about that, and you know, there's some backlash with how things played out with Vader and the Inquisitor, both kind of leaving her and not really finishing the job. Um, maybe my only pushback could be, um, maybe they think that she's dead, um, or that she's going to die in a matter of seconds, something like that. But clearly, she's gonna make it to see the finale episode. But that's not the very end. So the very end of this episode closes out with Riva grabbing Obi-Wan's communicator, and then she sees the message from Bale that we mentioned earlier, again, and referring to both of the kids, and referring to Bale having to go to Tatooine and help Owen protect Luke, that sort of thing. And so um, I think we can kind of assume that Riva is kind of putting things together here and kind of now understands, I guess, this secret too about Anakin's kids. And our episode closes out with this scene. We cut over to Tatooine, and we see Luke in his bed sleeping, young Luke, and that's how our episode closes out. And that is episode 5. Um, Definitely curious to know your guys' thoughts on both episode 4 and 5. But yeah, definitely fire those in the comment section, and let us know what you guys thought, what your guys' thoughts are, and any theories. I really want to know. I enjoyed both of these episodes, especially episode 5. But how are you guys feeling about this series as a whole, and how are you feeling about our finale next week? Um, you know, are you a little worried? Are you super excited? Are you really hopeful? I'm a little bit of both personally. I do kind of have my worries because um, I know like a lot of people were really skeptical about Riva's character, and I think that there's some valid points too. I think sometimes her character works well, sometimes it doesn't work very well, as far as her story arc goes and the delivery. Um, but I just really don't want, however things play out, I don't want her to overshadow Obi-Wan in the finale. And I don't want whatever the ultimate outcome is and the resolution for the story. I don't want Riva to be the big hero again and overshadow Obi-Wan in the finale. I I would absolutely hate that. um, you know, could she help him out, and will she help him out? I think that there's probably a good chance that she will somehow um, be there to help Obi-Wan a little bit. And again, it's all about execution. We talk about this all the time. Can it work? Can whatever you name it, can it work? It you know yes and no, but in theory, yes, anything can really work, but it's all about the execution, and it's all about how they're able to do it. So I don't necessarily want Riva to go and help Obi-Wan and to kind of be a hero in the end. um but could it work? Yes. It's just all about the execution. And again, I think if they do it, you can't have her overshadow Obi-Wan. The resolution, it needs to come naturally from him, and we need to find a way from point A to Z. We need to come full circle, and something big has to happen, especially with the final fight scene that I'm sure we're going to get between Obi-Wan and Anakin. And I guess I might talk just a little bit about my theories before we close out the show here in a few minutes. And again, guys, I do appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it's here live or on the replay and the podcast feed as well. Definitely fire in your comments, whether it's now or later, and let me know your theories. I'll definitely get back to you, or even put them up on screen sometimes when we do these live shows, so that everyone can see. But yeah, what are your guys' final thoughts for these 2 episodes? What are your guys' theories for next week? I want to hear about it. And yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that Leia's gonna get delivered back to Alderaan. I think that's probably a given. How is Luke gonna play into the final episode? I think that we are going to see young Luke. I think we're going to get a little bit of dialogue too. Does Obi-Wan at the very end of the series, does he go back and give Luke the toy ship? I think that he does. I think that would be pretty cool too. The Skyhopper, the little toy that we saw at the beginning, and we also see it in episode 4. I think that would be a cool little way to end the show, something like that. But yeah, the battle has to be really good, and I don't know. I'm not too sure what other theories I might have for the episode. I've kind of talked about it right now, but I'm still looking forward to it quite a bit next week. The other thing I would say is that I do still worry, and I think it's totally okay, and I think it's valid for people to have these concerns, because more so with Marvel, they haven't been sticking to landing. Of course, it's all under the Disney umbrella, but I felt like things fell short for the end of Book of Boba Fett 2. And Jake and I have talked about this, quite a bit as well. But you have to stick that landing, especially with that last episode. And I guess the other kind of disappointment is, yes, Mandalorian has been the gold standard and still is the gold standard, and I think that's great. And that's just the truth about it for Star Wars TV, and I mean for Star Wars content in general. For a while now, Mandalorian is the gold standard, but I really thought that Obi-Wan could be the new standard, and I think it had all of that potential. I was telling Jake, though, I think it was just us hanging out talking about it, why that didn't happen, why it doesn't seem like that's really going to be the case. And part of that comes down to like the production and the production value and the expenses and stuff. And I think part of it is because the success from Mandalorian season 1 and 2, it's been so great that all the finances and the funds and stuff is like they're kind of saving most of it to go towards Mandalorian season 3. And I think it makes sense, from seeing it from our standpoint, as the audience, as the fans, but also from their own business standpoint. I think it kind of makes sense for them to do that too. But that's just like the production side. That's just like kind of visually, kind of the budget, kind of the scenery, the visuals, the CGI, stuff like that. Sometimes it's not really up to par. It hasn't been in this show, it hasn't been in Book of Boba Fett as much as it is in The Mandalorian. And that's okay. But then we also see that the story, some of these stories, like with Kenobi, like with Book of Boba Fett, are not really up to par either. Some of them, some of the episodes. Again, that's what's nice about TV is, there's always next week, right? As long as the series goes on, the next week, the next episode could, you know, could change everything basically, or at least it could change everything for that week, for that episode. Um, kind of turn things around just a little bit. And I think episode 5 did that for this series. Because again, there's a lot of backlash for episode 4, and then I felt like I think it's safe to say the majority of people really enjoyed episode 5, and things kind of picked back up, and the story worked much better, and the pacing worked much better, and the characters, the dynamics, and their story arcs and how they're developing is working much better now. But yeah, it all comes down to next week, guys. Episode 6, the final episode of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It all comes down to that, and you can count on us doing a review for that episode for sure. And I'm sure I'll be joined most likely with Jake, but I think we're going to get a few other people here on the show as well for that finale review, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's gonna pretty much close things out. Again, guys, let us know in the comment section what your guys' thoughts were on episodes 4 and 5 of Kenobi, and any theories. Definitely always enjoy hearing about your guys' Star Wars theories. What you guys are thinking and any speculation you have for the finale. Is it going to be amazing? Is it going to be a 10 out of 10? I hope so. I hope so. All right. Okay, guys. I think that is pretty much going to do it for our episode today. I want to thank everyone again for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. And also thank you guys for being patient and understanding that we haven't been able to do our episodes lately because I was on a trip and I was sick as well. But yeah, again, we got a lot more episodes coming up soon. We have our Kenobi finale, obviously, next week. And also, I've said it before, but let me know, guys, how you're feeling about some of these Friday shows and Saturday shows that we've kind of been doing a little bit. If you guys are enjoying that a little bit more than our Wednesday at 6 p.m. show, that all really matters to us, because we really enjoy being able to have a dialogue with you, and enjoy having you tune in for these live when you guys can. So let us know. You can always drop that in the comment section or send me a DM or something. And then more episodes coming soon as well. Going to be streaming some more games here on the channel. Some more Star Wars games. I'll probably be streaming some Spider-Man, and Jake and I we started doing, the story mode for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game recently. And that's been a lot of fun. I think we'll probably finish the last half of the game on our next stream. We'll probably run through the rest of it. But yeah, it's a really fun kind of retro arcade game. Shredder's Revenge, which I'm pretty sure is an much older game, just kind of remastered and redone, and it's a great co-op game too, guys. So if some of you guys are interested, it'd be really cool to get 2 more players and kind of have 4 of us on the live stream playing that together. And then the last thing is that we need to get back into doing our our trivia nights. So you can expect us to be setting up another trivia night, game night here soon on the channel. And if you're not familiar with that, those are, some of our biggest, most popular episodes here on our channel and on the podcast feed. You guys can go back and take a look at that. I think we've done 6 of them, and they're just a blast. And we get some awesome friends, awesome competitors, um, and we do pop culture trivia, a lot of Star Wars and Marvel questions. But we're starting to add. Oh, we have much more categories, and we're always adding more. And the last one that we did was really good. And yeah, you guys can definitely check that out and expect more soon. But all right, guys, I think that's it for our show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. And here at the Starfighter Podcast, we're signing out, but we will see you next time.